I served my mother-in-law's own simple roast recipe at our anniversary dinner, copied word for word off her recipe card, right after she told her book club hours never taste like home. She asked the table for seconds before I told her whose recipe it was. So my mother-in-law, Diane, has this thing she does at family dinners where she'll go quiet for a second after tasting something, and then say something just slightly off enough that you can't really call her on it. Like, oh, this is lovely, it's just a little different from what we're used to. Or you can really tell it's homemade. That kind of thing. My wife, Claire, would come home from her mom's book club lunches and just kind of deflate on the couch. I'd ask how it went, and she'd say fine, and then 20 minutes later she'd mention that Diane told everyone our cooking never quite tastes like home. That one stuck with me. We've been married 6 years, and I've spent probably 4 of them trying to figure out what Diane actually wants. She's not mean, exactly. She's just the kind of person who's very committed to the idea that her way is the right way, and everything else is a kind attempt that falls a little short. The thing is, Diane has this recipe box. Old index cards, some of them water-stained, written in her mom's handwriting and then hers. She gave Claire a copy of a few when we got married, which I thought was genuinely sweet. One of them was her pot roast. She calls it her simple roast, which is funny because it's not simple at all. It's got like 12 steps and this whole thing about how long you sear it before you add the vegetables. Claire makes it maybe once a year and it's always incredible. But whenever we've had it at Diane's, Diane will serve it and then sort of wait and then say something like, there's really nothing like the one you grew up with, is there? Directed at Claire, with me sitting right there. So our anniversary was coming up, our 6th, and we decided to do a real dinner. Just close family, nothing huge. My parents, Claire's brother and his wife. 8 people total. I'd been planning to do something a little fancy, but about 2 weeks out, I changed my mind. I called Claire's brother, Marcus, and told him what I was thinking. He laughed for like a full minute and then said, I'm in, don't tell Claire. I dug out the recipe card, the actual one Diane had written out for us, in her handwriting. A little asterisk next to the part about the wine with a note that just said, don't skip this. I followed it exactly, word for word, step for step. I even drove to the specific grocery store. Diane goes too because she'd once mentioned the butcher there cuts it right. The day of Claire was helping me set the table and I kept steering her away from the kitchen. She thought I was just being weird about presentation, which, fair, I sometimes am. Everyone arrived around 6 p.m. Diane came in and hugged Claire and said the house smelled wonderful. She said it in this way that's always a little surprised, like it wasn't the expected outcome. My father-in-law, Tom, shook my hand and asked what was for dinner. I told him roast. He nodded like that was a reasonable answer. We sat down around 7. I brought out the roast and I watched Diane's face when she saw it. She got this look, just for a second, like she was trying to play something. I asked everyone to dig in. Diane took a serving, then turned to talk to my mom about something. We were all eating, and it was one of those dinners where the conversation is actually going well, nobody's talking over anyone. Tom made a joke that even Marcus laughed at. Claire squeezed my hand under the table at one point. Then Diane got quiet in that way she does. I thought she was going to say something backhanded. Instead, she looked down at her plate and then back up and said, this is genuinely wonderful. I'd love a little more of this if there's enough. I looked at Claire. Claire looked at me. Marcus was staring at his water glass trying not to smile. I got up and served Diane seconds. Let her take a few more bites. Then I sat back down and said, I'm really glad you liked it. I used your recipe card, the one you wrote out for us when we got married. Copied it exactly. Diane's fork stopped. She looked at Claire. Claire nodded. Diane looked back at her plate and then back at me, and I could see her doing the math on it. Well, she said finally. She didn't finish the sentence. Tom said, huh, and went back to eating. My mom very kindly started a completely different conversation about their upcoming trip, and everyone sort of let themselves be redirected. Except Marcus, who raised his glass slightly in my direction when no one was looking. Diane was quieter the rest of the evening than usual. Not cold, just quiet. She helped Claire clear a few plates and said the dinner was lovely before they left. She hasn't brought up how our cooking tastes since.